Yo, so listen, Vibe by Water TV. So we're back in this. So listen, I want to talk about Kendrick, right? I want to talk about Kendrick Lamar. So Kendrick's back. Kendrick has officially announced that he's going to be back with his, I believe, what's that? Technically his fourth major label album. So after Damn, To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, of course he has Section 80, but that was still an independent album, but whatever. Maybe it might be his fifth album. Kendrick's been away for 5 years, and in those 5 years, it seems like we pretty much haven't even heard from him. Like, cool, we had the Black Panther soundtrack, which I want to say came out in 2018. Yeah, it would have been start of 2018. And yeah, obviously we've seen him a couple of features. He did the Rich the Kid feature. I'm sure he's done a few more other than that. And then we fast forward to the Baby Keem drop, which was towards the end of last year. And obviously we got Range Brothers. He was on Vent, and he was on, what was the other track he was on? He was on another song as well. So, Kendrick has kind of been appearing here and there, but for the most part he's been quiet. And obviously, us fans out here, we've been calling for him for at least a solid 3 years. So in the last 2 years, definitely there's been a lot of calls for Kendrick. And it's got to a point where it's even got a bit ridiculous because, he announced the PG Lang thing maybe a year ago, and then we're thinking, okay, cool, off the back of the PG Lang announcements, they're going to be, something that's going to tie it all together, and we're really going to understand what this new movement is going to be. But then it went quiet again. And then as we say, of course, we started to hear that, all right, Baby Keem's going to drop, and he's going to drop on PG Lang, and then we began to understand, okay, this is going to be like some sort of not just a label, but an actual company. Maybe they're going to go into the publishing side. They're going to go into videography side, obviously with Dave Free, because it's a Dave Free and Kendrick collaboration. So maybe it's going to be going on that end, and as I say, publishing, music writing, songwriting, of course, dropping albums, dropping tapes, breaking artists as well, literature. So it's going to be a whole thing. So I think those are the kind of the ideas and the references that have come out. But still, like in terms of reference points of seeing, okay, like there's been an album drop, so this is going to be an official way for him to push himself through his own label, because obviously we know now. About 7 months ago, he came out with a cryptic statement, and basically was talking about kind of where he had been and what he's been doing while he's been away, and even touching on that, it's interesting because I feel like that's what a lot of fans actually want to hear and want to know of Kendrick. Like, what's been happening in these years? What's new? What's your troubles? Like state of affairs. How are you looking at life? And I happened to actually listen to a bit of Fear off of Damn within the last few days, and it's been a case of like, in that song he's talking about his fears, and he's talking about when he was 7 and when he was 17 and when he was 27, there's them 10-year jumps, and that's a great song, produced by Alchemist, and it's just a great song. And obviously he's detailing where his mind was at those times, how he's feeling, his anxieties, his concerns, his struggles. When he was 27, he had made all this bread, and he's touring, and he's successful, and he's doing all these things, he's known, he's famous. And he didn't want to spend any bread, you know what I mean? He's talking about how, he might do 30 back-to-back shows and not want to, drop this little whatever on the Lexus and you know what I mean? Just like, reap the fruits of his labor, you know what I mean? He was concerned about that because, he doesn't want to go back to net zero. He doesn't want to, find himself in a position where, maybe his accountant is you know what I mean, skimming off the top. And skimming to the point of where you don't really notice it, but then by the time you look at the finances and you're in a situation, you know what I mean? It's Picola. So, we've heard of them stories in the past, and we know it happened. So he was detailing them concerns on that track. But, it's like, all right, so what's the update from there? Because that's where you was, 5 years ago, let's say, being able to kind of write those lyrics and put forward exactly how he was feeling at them ages. But now a significant amount of time has passed, you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, cool, so where's the update? So let's talk about the PG Lang thing. You know, he came and mentioned that it's going to be a community that speaks different languages, breaks format. You know what I mean? It's going to go into film. It's going to go into just be overall creators. You know, go into film, directors, build ideas. You know what I mean? As I say, break artists, all of that. And I'm excited for that because I feel like if it is going to be to the level of what the current ideas are, obviously they could be working behind the scenes, but as far as I know, right now they're ideas. Like if it is going to be to that level, then it's going to be something huge. And I'm more than certain that, you know, Kendrick and Dave Free and the team that probably he's putting together, or they're putting together, I should say. I'm confident they're going to be able to really do some major work and do some spectacular things. And I don't say that lightly because everyone knows what an amazing artist Kendrick is, and the imagination and just the lyrical capabilities, the ability to write complex literature and get that message across in a melodic and digestible way, which is insane given his skill level. But accompanying that, like Dave Free is the one who provides the visuals. He's on the artistic sides of visually how it might look. I'm sure they work closely together, but Dave Free is able to also translate that across and give a different perspective to the lyrics and to Kendrick's lifestyle. And you know what I mean, even the way they use their camera pose. If you've, what is it? Not Phil, what's the other one? In My Element video, you see in the way things are shot, like the particular angles they use. That's a high. That's people with a high craftsmanship in what they do, understanding, you know, camera position. You know what I mean? See me, yeah, bro. Click and point, or what do they call it? Click and shoot, or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? Put the camera down, boom. As far as I'm going. And I do want to just say this. Like I've been listening to Kendrick for a very long time. So when I say a very long time, I mean like a very long time. When he was like 17 or 16 or whatever. And bear in mind, I would have been very young as well, but somehow, you know, I come across his music. Well, I came across J-Rock, and that was around the time of All My Life. You know, J-Rock had the deal, and he had the Warner Brothers deal, and he was going to be the one who was going to break first and kick down the door. He had the Lil Wayne feature, you know what I mean? He had this whole album, Follow Me Home, and it was a big deal. And it was, you know, they had the van, and I remember it like it was yesterday, to be honest. And like, they was really campaigning for it, but for whatever reason, that album got pushed on the back burner, and eventually, you know, stalled for several years. It didn't come out till, I want to say, 2011. And, you know, like, there was a lot of pitfalls and trials and tribulations in terms of how I imagine TDE done the business, or, you know, like, how Warner Brothers was seeing J-Rock at the time. But Kendrick was always there. Hype Man, you know what I mean, doing back-to-backs. I remember they used to do, so even before he dropped Training Day, I want to say, which I believe might have been one of his first mixtapes that I remember hearing anyways. It would have been, you know, they had like a collaborative mixtape where it was like, so you know Snoop and Dre, they was doing almost that angle, going over America's Most Wanted, and it was J-Rock and Kendrick going back to back, and you know, yeah, it was a long time ago, but Absol was around them times, and this was even before Schoolboy was even on the scene. Well, he might have been on the scene, but he definitely wasn't making any music with the camp. I think he was still with Tiger and them, man. But yeah, so it's been a long time, so I've been following this guy's journey like the whole time. So like, for it to be now 5 years, this is definitely as long as it's been, where it's been pretty much at least four cold years of not really, you know, hearing too much and knowing that he's around and he's doing things and he's living life and he's soaking it in. You know what I mean? Because I'm a bit like that. I like to do life, soak life first, and then if I'm going to do any sort of, you know, speaking or obviously I don't do music or anything like that, but any speaking or talking about it or even pictures and stuff, I like it to be after the fact, so after you've kind of, you know, really soaked it in and digested what you've done, and then you can present art, let's call it, or whatever the hell, whatever. You know what I mean? Then you can put out, you know, how you feel about things. But, you know what I mean? This has been a very long time. Let's fast forward to this week, right? And Kendrick has put out a statement, or should I say, Oklahoma. And the statement reads, for immediate release, PG Lang, which is the language enterprise, and it's from the desk of Oklahoma, aka Kendrick Lamar, Los Angeles, California, on April the 18th, 2022. The following statement was released today by Oklahoma for his company PG Lang at 11 a.m. PT in Los Angeles, so Los Angeles time. And this immediate release is for the delivering of the album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Release date, the 5th of May, 2022. All factual information for this release will come directly from this source only. Appreciate your patience. So, that tells me a lot. Obviously, we know this is going to be his last album with TDE. I presume he's still going to have a partnership with Aftermath and Interscope, but probably he's maybe going to take, I don't know if it's going to be 50-50 or whatever, but he's going to take the TDE portion of, let's say, the funds that's going to be coming into PG Lang. So that's huge, that's big. That's him taking a real big step to say, you know what, like, I've given you guys a lot over these years. Like, it's been a long time, it's been near enough, you know, at least 15 years. And this is from me. I look at that title and I'm like, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Like, what's that about? I have a theory, and you know, obviously, Kendrick fans love to have a theory about his music and stuff, but I feel like, looking at that title alone, that's going to be a double album. That's just from me. I feel like that's going to be a double album. Whether it's going to be two sides of a perspective, and it's not going to be very long, but it's going to be two sides of a perspective, or literally two albums that kind of match up next to each other as 1 and 2. That's my opinion. But listen, Kendrick Lamar's back. Kendrick Lamar's back. I'm ready. Let's go. Vibe by Water TV.